Hello folks and welcome to Linux for Seniors. I am going to be doing quite a few videos moving forward. I just started up a new Linux project. My previous YouTube site used to have over 400 videos, and doing this Linux for Seniors. Linux is really for everyone, but more importantly I'm doing this more for seniors and anyone who wants to learn in a method that is simple to explain. So none of my videos are going to be under 2 minutes. So I try to explain this in the simplest form that I can moving forward on different distributions. So I do encourage that you subscribe, because I will be spending more than 2 minutes here. As a subscriber, you can, you can stop this video and come back tomorrow, start where you left off, or even next week if you like. And then you'll have access to some of my other videos moving forward. Now, EndeavourOS, a lot of people shy away from that when they're new users. Actually, you can download the image as long as you know how to burn that onto a DVD and or CD, and that's how you need to do any Linux image anyways. And you can actually test drive EndeavourOS. So I am actually running this whole video off of a USB stick, and I have Endeavour booted up on that USB stick. So I'm going to give you that experience today. So I installed the recording software using Terminal. And more importantly, welcome to Linux for Seniors. The first thing I'm going to actually do here is give you system information using a command called neofetch. Basically, I know this looks like a bunch of wacky letters and characters. It just represents the Endeavour's logo. It's like a sail ship. So EndeavourOS in Linux, this is the 64-bit version of the Xfce desktop. Now, EndeavourOS does offer several different desktops on their website. As a matter of fact, the installer, once you're online, you can install different type of desktops. The Xfce desktop is, well, it's not stripped down, but it's made for, it's more forgiving on older machines. Let's put it that way. You can see the screen resolution I'm running in. This actually booted up in 4K. I dropped it to 1920 by 1080 just to make the video a little bit faster for uploads. Now, I have a fairly fast machine here. You can see my CPU and graphics card and memory. You don't really need all that horsepower, but I use this computer for other work. So, more importantly, I'm going to, because a lot of your software is installed through Terminal, so I'm going to do some fun commands here also that you can play little games with your friends and family, telling them what day of the week they were born on. So stay tuned for that in a second. So EndeavourOS has a lot of tools to offer you. The simple calendar, for instance, and I'm going to talk about a terminal command that you can guess a folks' birthday. You actually can just put in a command and it'll tell, as long as you know their month and year, and of course you know their dates, you can tell them what day of the week they were born on. That's what I was referring to earlier. So I have notification, I have some battery information for my wireless toys, my keyboard and mouse, and volume thing. I have both volume for the speakers and microphone since I'm recording this video. And that tells me the mic is on. Okay, so I'm not going to cover every single icon, but what I'm saying is this system is fairly intuitive. When you boot up too and you click this icon down here, you'll just sign into your local home network and put in your password, and you're ready to go actually. And it does have an installer. So record if it's a welcome screen. Yes, it is. Okay. Some people call it different screens. So I'm waiting for this thing to, no, I don't want that one. So more importantly, you get a welcome screen. This is again from the USB stick, and you could do this on a DVD also. You can start the installer, and that part is graphical. And you can read all about a lot of latest tips and information, and it's got 2 tabs over here, and more importantly, it's got all kinds of info. So walking across, the file manager for this distribution is Thunar. If you haven't seen some of my other videos on Xfce distributions, you may want to take a gander at that. Most of the commands in there work the same in here. This is an Xfce desktop, so I could resize these icons using my method rather easily. I'm going to hold down the control key with my left hand and grabbing a hold of the mouse with my right, because I'm right-handed. And most computer mice have a scroll wheel on the top. And I'm going to scroll back and forth, making these dinky or whatever size I want them. You can also do it the old-fashioned way. Click view, zoom in and out. So I'll have some more tips for you a little bit later. These resizing tips come in handy when you're looking at pictures or wallpaper. So I can scroll up and down looking at that stuff. Okay, it's just a butterfly. Just one folder I brought in from the other system. And as you can see, these devices, that means internal hard drives or external or USB sticks, will be classified as devices. This is the current USB stick that I'm booted into running this whole show. I'm actually running this completely off of a USB stick. How did I accomplish installing the software? It installs it into a buffer. So basically, I installed a couple of programs. Let me get this out of the way to get you a little bit comfortable with terminal, because a lot of people, they'll look at this distribution going, oh, I don't want to learn terminal. Can I just show you a couple of simple commands to get you comfortable? Because anyone can teach you how to run this, trust me. But I'm going to do my best to get you comfortable with this. So I'm going to use a thing called cal. It's a calendar, 3 little letters. That simple calendar you can do powerful things with though. You have a calendar down here, so I'm not being funny. With this one here, I can type in the word cal, put a space, and put a month there, like January, Jan, 3 letters, or the number 1 for January. Then I'm going to hit a space and put in a year. You name the year. I'll pick one out of a hat. 1967. Do you have a friend born January of 1967? Your friend born January 1967 was born on the 10th. They were born on a Tuesday. You can have all kinds of fun with your friends doing this. I'm going to use the upper arrow key on my keyboard to repeat that last command. And then I'm going to use my back key to erase that. And I'm going to put in a different month. So I can put in 2. Or I can put in FEB for February. And let's put another year in here. Like, let's say, you want to use 2001? Maybe you have a friend that is born in 2001 in February, and that friend of yours was born on the 12th. They were born on a Monday. You can have all kinds of fun with your friends and family. Now I'm going to toss some trivia out at you. So using the same upper arrow key, I'm going to repeat this command, and I'm going to change this up a little bit. And so in the United States, the 4th of July, Independence Day, 1776. What day of the week did that fall on? Well, you know, we can go to the internet and go look that up. But your terminal box can do this for you in 1 second. That particular date was a Thursday. This is the calendar from July 1776, and that's a Thursday. So this is how I'm trying to get you comfortable with terminal. Now I'm going to hit clear, and that's a literal command just for clearing the screen. And I want to punch up the word history, because I'm going to show you the commands that I use to install these couple of pieces of programs and all the commands that I just performed, including those birthdays that I threw in there. This is a very typical command for installing stuff. Let me break it down for you. Sudo just means super user do. That's like gives me elevated privileges to perform installations, for instance. The Pac-Man, it's kind of like some folks remember maybe the game Pac-Man, so you can use that as a mnemonic reference. It's a strange name. Anyways, Pac-Man, and put a space in there and dash. You can use the dash next to your, or minus next to your back key has a plus or minus key, you know, that kind of thing. And then a big S. and then you put a space and the name of your particular program or application. In my case, this is VLC. What does that thing look like? This is VLC Media Player. That's what I use to install that. This one has the same command, the sudo pacman space -s simple screen recorder, one word. That's what I'm using to record this video. And that's what it looks like when I bring it up on the screen. You could see it's still recording. So neofetch was the other term that I used to display system information. And you can do a lot of magic with these boxes. I'm going to take that and actually copy that. And then I'm going to paste it on this line so I don't have to retype it. And hit enter. So this is EndeavourOS. Now let's go take a look at some of the menus. Alright, so we have live user. Again, I'm running this off a USB stick. You have favorites. When you do the official installation, you'll also have favorites. And here's some of the favorites. Goes to the web browser, the file manager, the terminal. That's an install system because I haven't installed it. Gparted is something that you use to partition your hard drives, for instance. There's all kinds of toys. So a funny name for calculator is Galculator. All right. Just wanted to throw some toys at you. Recently used in all applications A through Z. You also have a search that you can search through. There's a scroll bar down here. So a lot of people go, well, this is terminal centric for installing software. Yes, it is. But after you figure out how to install it, really you just need to learn a couple of commands and you're ready to go. Okay, with that said, let me continue. You have some developer tools and developer programs or applications, some graphic stuff. You can also install a whole bunch of stuff like GIMP, that's like Photoshop. You can also install office suites. LibreOffice is one of them, stuff like that. You don't like Firefox? Well, install some other web browser. Now, the database for the software you can find through the Endeavor's website. And then you can just take a look at that on a web page, open up your terminal, and use those keywords to install stuff. It's that simple. Multimedia. What did I install? Well, I installed the simple screen recorder and VLC media player. This media player is very common. You can even find them on mobile devices. But more importantly, I used terminal to install these, and it just takes a couple seconds. Yeah, depending on your speed of your internet, how's that? Anyways, there's lots of settings that you can change, like display, for instance. If you have one of those monitors that have different resolutions, I do, and you can see all the different ones that I can select. My monitor is 43 inches and goes all the way up to 4K. And yes, it does display that. Even I'm running this off this USB stick. And if you're running in the lower resolutions, you know, sometimes you have laptops with these fixed resolutions, kind of like that one maybe. You may not have that choice. So let me close that. But anyways, there's a lot of different kind of settings. Lots of settings. And again, there's multiple places where you see this install system. And of course, there's the welcome screen. So it's still complaining because I'm still using the USB version. It just wants to know what kind of Ethernet card I have. That is not the wireless. That's like a physical cable. I don't know if you folks know what an Ethernet cable looks like. So a lot of office computers have Ethernet cables. They kind of look like a fat telephone line. And that's how you can run that off of switches and routers and talk from one machine to another without using wireless. Anyways, let's get on topic. So you have the installer here, is what I'm getting at. What can I do with right-clicking on the screen? Actually, a lot. I can actually create launchers. That would be for folks that, like myself and others, that will take a program and actually make like a launcher for it so you can run it. I create launchers for other Linux distributions quite often. Even simple stuff when I do have some downtime, I will bring a game into another distribution via folder and create a launcher for it. Creating a launcher in here is actually very simple. Just give it a name. You don't even need to put a comment, but you need to put a command line, and I'm really not going to get into that in here. And then you can assign it an icon. You can bring your own icons. If you make icons, some folks do, and you can use those, or you can download them off the internet. But anyways, there's just a couple of things that you need to make launchers work. A command line would be one of them. Icons would be nice. And if the launcher requires you to run it in terminal, then you just click that. It's that simple. But a lot of people need to understand a little bit more about Linux when you're running launchers. You can also create simulated web links using the URL link. You just type in a website. Let me give you an example of this. I want to go on to my own YouTube site. Okay, I'm going to take and highlight that whole line. And then I'm going to right click and copy it. I'm going to minimize this web browser. And then I'm going to actually put in the URL in here and call it Linux. Or I could call it whatever I want. Now I'm just going to leave the system icon, but I could click that. And it'll take a second or two for it to look through the library. Usually when you have the installed version, it responds a little bit faster. But let's say I wanted something silly like that green flag. I could do that. And then I'm going to hit create. So now I created this icon down here. I'll drag it toward the center. Linux for Seniors. I'm going to double click on this thing. It goes directly to my YouTube site. Okay? That's how quickly you can do stuff like this. Don't really need that much knowledge, do you? You can create folders on your desktop. Very simple. Call it whatever you want, including a single letter if you like. There's the folder. Deposit whatever you want in there. Right click. Now these create empty documents, so these are done with a text editor, not a word processor, just an FYI. I use these kind of text editors, and I'm not sure which one this is, but I'm going to just type in test for a file name. Let's find out what it is. So I'm going to open it up. It's blank. All right, so this is Xfce. There's other ones called Cade and others. Basically, lightweight text editors don't have any spell checkers or anything else because you're just writing text files. I use them to write scripts also. But more importantly, that's what create document empty file means. All right, there's also some features that a lot of folks don't know about. I'm going to actually perform one of those. I'm going to take my mouse and hold it down and drag a box around those two and hit the delete key to get rid of them. I'll leave my Linux for Seniors up here for a second. You can also open up the terminal box here or down here, your choice. So if I'm opening up terminal here, it's the same box. It's the same box. Right click. Open up a new window, arrange your desktop icons if you had some, and then of course you have desktop settings. So that's the current background. I also have menus, and if I wanted to activate some icons like my home folder, I could do that. There's my home folder and my trash can. Normally you don't need this one. I'll show you why in a second. So I'm going to scroll back up and get rid of them. I actually like a clean desktop. When you actually install the installed version, you can of course change the wallpaper. But more importantly, the reason I say you don't need a trash can, if you click this purple icon or whatever theme you decide to settle in on, I'm going to resize these using my method. All I'm doing is holding the control key down, folks, with my left hand and using my computer mouse to scroll. Your trash can is right here. And it's pretty simple to use. It's all point and click, really. Live user is my home user. So if you install the system, it's whatever name you gave your user will be your home folder. And your home folder, of course, is your personal files. So the system is represented by root, and everything starts from root. Even root has a home folder here. If you had more than one user, they'll appear in folders. Normally, you don't have access rights to their files. Let's put it that way. But that's, in a nutshell, is your root folder. It's where everything is on the system. Your live user is where your personal stuff is. And you can create subfolders here all day long. And that there's also hidden files. I'm going to use Control-H for a second, just to let you see the hidden files and folders. Like .local is a hidden folder. A born again shell history is what that stands for, bash history. These are the commands that I showed you earlier when I opened up terminal of the things that I use. So you get another good look at that. So sudo pacman -s is the standard command for installing something like VLC or Simple Screen Recorder or whatever other piece of software. Again, you can find this out through a website, through the EndeavourOS website, of how to do or look up programs. And then you just punch them in here with that simple command here. It's very simple. And don't forget to have some fun with your calendar commands. And have fun with your friends and family. Punch in their birthdays. Either use 3 digits for the month, and don't forget the space in there, and put their year in there. All right, now I'm going to actually turn this back to normal, Control-H. And you don't have to remember that. Just go to the View menu. Show hidden files. It's Control-H. Again, I encourage that you watch some of my other videos regarding the Thunar, the file manager. I will, as my library grows, of course, I will try to make videos for a lot of different Linux distributions. But everything takes time, as one would say. But I am taking my time to present this information out for not only seniors, but anyone who wants to learn. So I'm spending a lot of time, my personal time, doing this. My only agenda is to try to get the folks in the Linux community to understand that there is a large crowd out there of all ages, including seniors, that use Linux or will be using Linux. Linux is a wonderful operating system. It is also very secure. A lot of folks don't know how your Linux world affects you. But there's quite a few web servers, if not over 90% on the internet, that use Linux. There is also, I believe that thing that runs around on Mars, called that Mars rover, it uses a Linux operating system. Why? Because it needs to work. Linux just keeps working. You know, and I'm getting ahead of myself. But anyways, it's a fun system also. So as a desktop user, you do have lots of choices. But I wanted to throw that in the mix because a lot of people will look at EndeavourOS going, oh, it's an Arch-based distribution. I'd better shy away from that. Actually, don't. If you haven't seen my video on distributions, give them a try before you say no. But I will try to cover some more Linux commands for terminal a little bit later, but I don't want to overwhelm people. But more importantly, there are very simple commands you can do to install software. The rest of it is point and click in here. Really. If you can use your mouse, you can go fish around in here. And you can certainly install software rather quickly. Also, don't forget about the search feature. So I'm going to put in a T, and it starts guessing on what I'm looking at. I'm looking for terminal. I have this one, and I have this one. Okay, so there's lots of little toys and tools that you can do with this distribution. So what was this again? Now I can also use another command here instead of neofetch. I'll do that. inxi. And the switch that I'm using, this -big F Xfce, is just, it doesn't display personal information. This is what's inside my box, if you're curious. So again, this is EndeavourOS. It's an Arch-based distribution. So it's terminal-centric. What that means is you use your terminal for quite a few things, including installing software. It is the Xfce interface or desktop. Now, EndeavourOS does offer other desktops. On my YouTube site, let me actually use another icon I created here earlier. And if you go to the About section of my YouTube site, click on DistroWatch. And if you go through this website, EndeavourOS is right here in the list. Let you see what kind of desktops they have. They have Budgie, Cinnamon, GNOME, i3, KDE Plasma, LXQ, made in Xfce. I'm using only this one today. And they offer live medium. That means you can download and test drive these things. Do you need a super high speed computer? No. Xfce is really forgiving on really old computers, all the way up to 10 years, maybe even beyond that. If you install Plasma, for instance, some bit of advice, a little bit more horsepower regarding your graphics card and maybe your CPU. What I mean by horsepower is a little bit, not a really ancient processor that's 12 years old, for instance. Something fairly new in maybe the last 5 years, or 6 years, or 8 years. But this command here is a wealth of information. It is performed just about on any Linux distribution using terminal. It even tells me my motherboard. If you haven't seen some of my videos on motherboards, take a look at those. So the MOBO stands for motherboard. So I'm using an MPG B550 Gaming Plus motherboard. You can also copy that and then open up a web browser and look for the manual for it. Very cool feature. CPU, or Central Processing Unit, I'm using an AMD Ryzen 9. I'm using a GeForce GTX 1660 Ti. It's a 6 GB video card. I am running in 1920 by 1080. I am using the Nouveau driver. What is a Nouveau driver? The driver for open source. I'm not using, even though this is an NVIDIA card, I'm using the open source driver. And it does work rather well. But you can install these proprietary drivers, if you like, on some of these video cards. Let me continue. My network stuff, you can see what kind of network I'm running. I'm running an AX network for my wireless. I have Bluetooth. I have also storage devices, hard drives, multiple hard drives, almost 5 terabytes worth of hard drives. I have, they're all listed by model number and manufacturer. Samsung, model number, blah, blah, blah. And then you have, there's a PNY here, CS900, 480 gigabyte SSD. What's that SSD mean? Solid state drives. This one here happens to be, where's this one? This NVMe is the latest solid state drive technology. It looks like a chip. You can actually go look that up on the internet if you like. It sits on the bottom part of my motherboard. There's usually 2 sockets down there for them. And they're kind of like a big, fat, long memory stick with no shell casing on it. All right, my last drive is a Seagate. It's a spinning hard drive. And then, of course, I have that USB stick that I'm currently running off of. Wow, a wealth of data, right? And there's my memory in GIB format. So essentially 64 gigabytes is what I have for RAM. No, you don't need all that to run this system. I just happen to have that on this system. All that from that one silly little command here. So a terminal can be your friend. It can do a lot of things for you as you learn with Linux. Make sure you subscribe. There's lots of videos that I have explaining things. And just because you don't see your distributions, take a look at the subject. They may pertain to your distribution. So on that note, I'm getting into the 29th minute. I will say, hopefully you will subscribe, and that way you can be informed when I produce videos. And then you can go on to my Linux for Seniors YouTube site. I'm waiting for the web browser to pull. You can either scroll this manually, or you can use the search feature. So as I build my library back up, you can start using keywords. Hopefully that's benefit of you. So sometimes I put stuff in the community tab, just a tip, maybe for surfing or other kind of tips. You can click the about. You can see that I've just started this new YouTube site. I have some links for you which may change over time. This one here will go over to a site that does mouse pointers and themes. I have a couple of videos on my YouTube site right now that show you how to put in mouse themes. And this is an Xfce distribution, so you can actually use the video for that particular one if you're in a hurry to learn how to do that stuff. But I will try to make some more videos for EndeavourOS moving forward. This is good for the developers at EndeavourOS to have a larger audience for downloads. There's a huge audience for seniors out there. There's a lot of seniors. And a lot of seniors are retired and they have time on their hands. They want a hobby. Computers is a good hobby. I also have hiking as a hobby and woodworking. It's always good to be semi-well-rounded, right? Anyways, folks, as I pointed out, I'm into the 30th minute. So on that note, I will say have a wonderful day and hopefully you enjoyed this video.